Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Around Campus College Football Podcast is back. Jim Biringer, alongside my good friend, Mike Richards, Sportsnet 960, The Fan out in Calgary. We are back to talk college football. We appreciate everybody who watched our last episode. We went into the playoff. I know we couldn't get to some quarterfinals just because of the holiday schedules, everything like that. But if you missed out, we'll do a quick recap. But we're talking about the semifinals. They're getting underway. We got Miami, Ole Miss, Oregon, Indiana, a rematch from the Big Ten. Mike, first of all, great to have you back here in the new year. Can't wait to talk more college football with you.
I'm nervous. I feel like I'm playing. I'm like, my wife's going, "What's the matter with you? You're not on the team. Don't ever say that. Don't say that. And don't say that they can't hear me when I'm saying stuff to the TV. I know they can hear me. I can't find my Ducks hat, so I've got the generic. I mean, I'm panicked. I don't want to upset the gods, but doing this without the Oregon toque, as some people would call it, knit cap, whatever you want to call it, a little nervous. And then, you got to take a look at the game that's going to be happening Thursday night. That's intriguing stuff too. And there's a little stank on that when you start talking about Ole Miss. People are like, because it's easy to dislike Lane Kiffin. I think probably there are members of his family that don't like Lane Kiffin.
That's probably accurate.
And because of his history with what he has done with other teams and then bolted, this whole leaving you at the altar thing, and sometimes, like in Saban's case, could you just leave? Like, I would like you to leave. He has a reputation, and he also, quite frankly, on one of those really mean websites where it's punchable faces, he kind of has one of those too. It's like if I was gonna cast him in one of those 80s college movies, he'd be one of the preppy guys with the Lacoste collars turned up. It's like, yes, how dare you come to this party? You're not invited. Okay, Lane Kiffin, that's who he is. However, in all of this, we cannot forget that really the blood on the hands in these situations with coaches jumping before bowl games, the blood is on the hands of NCAA. They're the ones who just don't get it. Now, talking to various coaches over the years, and I think of the one that stands out for me was Brian Kelly when he had to leave Cincinnati and go to his dream job at Notre Dame, because they make these coaches move at the time that they do because of when the national sort of commit day is. So when Jim Biringer from, Grambling, probably didn't happen, but I'm just saying he's a standout. That's why he was there. And, from high school, and you want to go to one. So when you're committing, they're saying, okay, well, the schools are saying the AD says we need our coaching staff in its entirety by the time these kids, and we're recruiting these kids. So they do it at this time. They've picked in a schedule a timing that is just, to me, so detrimental to all programs, to all of college football. Can you imagine if they did this and they had the situation in college basketball where you get into the dance and you're and let's pick a ridiculous name, but a big, let's say in the day it was Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski, and all of a sudden he decides that he's going to leave and go to Wake Forest or something before the dance happens, or you find that
actually did happen because Michigan lost their basketball coach before. I think it was 1989 or 1990s March Madness. He left, or no, he was going to leave after the season. He had already committed, but the AD's like, "Yeah, go. Like, you're not welcome here anymore. You're not coaching this team." And it's the same thing that happened with Lane. Lane wanted to stay, but the AD's like, "Dude, you just committed to our rival LSU. You're not staying to coach this team and poach everybody."
No. And that there are situations, I think, where it does work. That certainly wouldn't. But what I'm saying is the things that I always hope the NCAA will get right. And I am an NIL person. I've always felt that college football players, and I wrote a book. It's in the book way before it happened. I said you cannot have corporations in the U.S. like EA Sports, like CBS Sports, who are making billions, that's a B, billions of dollars, and everybody else is making zero. Because you are just asking yourself, or asking a situation to turn into, well, if Jim Biringer is playing for Grambling and EA Sports, you're the top guy and you're getting no money, you will find a way to get money. And that's where all the infractions happen. That's when all the dirty stuff was happening. That's when all the running shoes, that's when all the Under Armour, Adidas, you name it, because they realize these kids are getting nothing. We'll get you something. There's a university that says, oh, yeah, well, the alumni, we can get you a car. We can get your parents some house. Like all the weird stuff that went on. So like, okay, now we're going to have some money. And I agree with it. If you've got the money, that's okay. Spend it wisely, because there are some schools who did.
No.
And they're doing okay. But the problem, again, in these programs is when you take away and you make it like the NFL, which this is. Let's just be honest.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got the Power Five and you've got these other schools. We kind of have a feeling of who's going to be in that playoff, and they did expand it to a degree a little bit. I'm not hating that. I'm not hating on it either. People say, well, why Tulane get in? People were mad that Miami got in. What about now?
Hey.
What about now? They took out Ohio State. So it's not that terrible. But the terrible part is they believe, and I saw an article the other day on the money spent on sports properties, in this case, bowl games, whether it's Kellogg's, whether it's all these other companies, insurance companies, and they're like, this is just a gold mine for us. Yeah, today. But I got news for you. The next time, and maybe someone will put their name on the pinstripe bowl game that they have at Yankee Stadium, but I can't watch a Clemson team that, my mom's the quarterback and maybe the dog is the wide receiver. And it's like, oh, no. It's because, Dabo, these players, they got their own, they can do what they want. But I get even Lincoln Riley was talking about, well, USC, we got, it's, so we get to see who we're going to play next year. Yeah, that's what spring ball is for. Why am I seeing, hey, at quarterback, it's Paul Shittington. Oh, no. I don't think he's played it. He hasn't played it.
And who is this guy? And who is this guy that's coming in? It's like, and that's why, and everybody hated on Notre Dame for not going in the bowl game. But the players were like, hey, coach, none of us are playing. Like, Jeremiah Love's not playing. Their best defensive end's not playing. All these guys are getting ready for the draft. So they're like, all right, we're just not going to go to a bowl game. And it's turned out better for them because now Marcus Freeman stayed there. He thought potentially going to the Giants, but that was never happening. Like, I hear a lot of rumors that Kirby Smart could go to the Falcons. Kirby's not leaving Georgia. Like, anybody thinks that Kirby Smart's leaving Georgia, you can think again, because that's an institution there, Georgia. But yeah, I agree with you. Like Lane Kiffin. Oh, by the way, I just got the phone call from my bookie. He said, Lane Kiffin might be going to the Ravens now. So you never know. Lane Kiffin may go to the
Ravens. And he's like that. Hey, we joke around. I don't know if that's a joke.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I don't know if that's a joke or not. But good on Ole Miss for getting to this point, because I think a lot of people thought they shouldn't be in because they didn't have the head coach. But they got pretty much the whole staff to stay. Charlie Weiss Jr., Trinidad Chambliss basically beat the drum to get his offensive coordinator to stay. And they've looked really, really good. I mean, let's be honest. Let's go back to the quarterfinals for a minute. I was talking to my other program with my buddy Teddy. He asked me, what do you think the best game of the 4 games of the quarterfinals would have been? And I said it was going to be Georgia, Ole Miss, followed by Ohio State, Miami, and I wasn't wrong.
Well, when you start talking about motivation, this is what I find to be very interesting, is people say, well, is it going to be because of the coaching situation and Lane left them, so they're all upset, so it's them against the world, and we're going to prove that even if we don't have a coach who left us on the side of the road, crying babies, spilt milk, like, oh, they must be. They really do understand that the system has been laid out, and if a coach wants to leave before the bowl games because the other schools are demanding it and the NCAA says that's when it happens, they do understand that is the process. Like, this was not necessarily overly shocking. But when you start talking about motivation for athletes, you find anything that can spur the moment where you pick up the spears and you charge across the field, because athletes historically and teams will even make stuff up to get themselves riled. Did you see the was it The Last Dance with Michael Jordan, where they always talked about this player who said this thing and he told everybody else what this player had said, and they're all mad and they're all, never happened. in the end, simply because he found a way to light that fire. And that's a very powerful tool, especially in football, where it's sacrifice every single play. There's no shifts off. There's no shifts. Like you're out there and it's kill or be killed. And in football, if you can impose your will, which I know is something that people say a lot, and they said, well, trust me, if even the smaller guy is playing angry, in football, you can be human bowling balls if you want to be. And Trinidad Chambliss, for what it's worth, I mean, he's going to be prepared. His team is prepared. They know the coach is gone. And it's this story around it. Someone said, well, this will be a distraction.
No,
it's not. If anything, the Ohio State just blew it. Ohio State got the will that was imposed was on the other side because Miami, unlike the year beforehand, can play defense.
They can play defense. And they won at the line of scrimmage. And you talk about the motivation. What was the motivation? What did you hear? Because I know about the U, and I know about the history of the U, and I'm a big U guy. What happened in 2002 at the Fiesta Bowl? The late flag. That was Miami's back-to-back national championships. And every person who was rooting for Miami knew, the players knew about it. Mario Cristobal knew about it. They're like, that's the team that screwed us. That team took our title away. And they came in there and they imposed their will on the champions. And again, going into that game, what did we always – everybody said last year Indiana didn't play nobody. Well, guess what? Ohio State didn't play anybody this year. And when they did play people, they got held to 14 points when they played Texas. They got held to 10 points when they played Indiana in the Big Ten Championship. And they got held to another, I believe, 14 points by Miami's D. That's not good if you have a top-ranked offense in college football. Miami dominated on both sides of the football, and that's why they're playing Ole Miss. And that's why, despite everything going into this game, everybody says, oh, Ole Miss has got a high-power offense. Their defense is still a weak link to me. And Miami's defense, the way they can rush the passer, take time away from Trinidad Chambliss, win on both sides, and run the football at Fletcher, when Miami wants to play, they're the best team in the nation.
I look at it this way. In this game, and we'll take a look at some of our numbers too, but when we're talking about Ole Miss and Miami, it is a classic test of whose weakness is bigger. So is it the weakness of Ole Miss, who defensively aren't that great? Or is it Miami with Carson Beck, who I really all year never felt?
No.
If they scored 24 points, I'm like, okay, good on you, because, I just don't see them. But late in the season, and you just talked about Fletcher, which will be a go-to. He's getting the ball 20 times for laughs in that game. Does the occasion on the defense of Ole Miss step up? Because Ole Miss is going to score points. Lacey's going to get his touches. Was it Harrison III, their stud guy out there? He's going to get his catches because they can expose a little bit the defensive secondary of the U. But at the same time, are they going to get some stops? And I look at it this way, and this is why I've laid out my picks the way that I have. I think that they got away with one once, and I think and Ohio State knew that they blew it. I don't know if it turns into a semi-track meet. Now, I still don't think this is going to be, 55-54. However, the only way Ole Miss can win this game is they can't play that slow tempo game. It's like basketball. Miami wants to be in the half court, and they want to slow this game down and eventually get it to their guys. So if they won the game in basketball, if they won it 20-10, they'd be happy with it. And I think that if the game goes the way I think it is, and I do think the motivation is still on the side of Ole Miss, whether it's made up or not, whether they're really that mad that Lane Kiffin left or not, I think getting plus 3.5 points, I can't see not taking it. I think it's a grind still, but my gut tells me that Ole Miss can win this football game because deep down, I still don't trust Carson Beck. I still see the Georgia uniform. I still see what he does.
We know Ole Miss saw Carson Beck when he was in Georgia. Trinidad Champ, all those guys saw him. Like, they know there's tape on Carson Beck, like, going into this game. But again, you talk about motivation. Where's Miami headed back to? A familiar rallying cry. It's the same place they lost the national championship in 2002 at the Fiesta Bowl. I mean, it's a different venue now, but it's the same area. Like, they know what they're getting into. Look, I like that number plus 3.5 for Ole Miss. I would take Ole Miss plus 3.5 to cover at least, because I think it's both. And let's not forget, both teams have really good kickers. Like, the kicking game is going to be something I'm going to be watching, because that kid for Ole Miss was like, he was hitting 40-yard field goals, 50-yard field goals. He could be hitting them 70 yards when they were playing in the Sugar Bowl. Like, he was, I mean, I'm like, this dude can play Sunday. Like, that's a Sunday guy.
Yes, and that's how college football to me has changed, or hasn't changed, in that you get these teams where it's like, we got a Sunday guy, we got a guy that can get this done. And then you see those teams in some of the bowl games are like, I don't know if we want to kick an extra point here. Yeah, I think we might be going for 2 on this one. And it happened. You see it all. Yeah, I think, was it Texas A&M that got into that situation where it was like, I don't know if we want to kick here. Like, wow. But hey, indoors, it's going to be beautiful. I'm just going to get the numbers up here on this.
Yeah, let's get the numbers up here, because look, for me, I like this game. I think Miami's still going to win this game. Well, I'm rooting for Miami to win. That's the homer of me, because I want to see Miami do good. And look, I'm still not sold on Mario Cristobal as the coach, but he's got this team playing well, and the alumni and the motivation and all that stuff. So if I look at it, I think Fletcher's going to get his touches. I definitely think they're going to run the football. They do have a two-headed monster there too. So, and I agree with you, Mike, they're going to want to slow the game down. They dictated the play to Ohio State, and Ohio State couldn't. When Ohio State started to get rolling, giving the ball to Jeremiah Smith, and they exposed the secondary a little bit and played it more up-tempo, they got to Miami a little bit. But again, Miami's D can get that occasional interception that they didn't get last year. Look, Wallace the third will probably get his touches. Lacey's going to get his touches, Trinidad and Champ. But if they can contain Trinidad and Chambliss to the pocket, that allows Miami's defense and their rushers to go right to him.
This is it's very. I see the game similar, certainly in a similar way. And I rarely people like, well, do you like gambling? Do I like gambling?
Who are you talking to?
Yeah,
like,
I'm betting.
It's a king of gambling.
I bet on the sunsets. What are you talking about? I mean, so this, but I am going to take it now. Of course, so these numbers are FanDuel as of Thursday afternoon, depending on when you're watching this. So this are the numbers that I have. And so I have actually taken a result, which is very strange. And I do, because you have the ability to have alternate totals on everything. So I'm going, oh, no, it's like shopping. No, I don't like that. It's too expensive. Oh, I do like that cut of meat. Yeah, it's a crappier cut of meat, but I can do something with it. So here's what I've got. So I think Fletcher gets his touches. Yeah. I think it revolves. I think that's where it starts. So I've got him. I think his actual number is 88 point something. I think they got him closer to 90 yards. So I'm just taking him at 80 yards, because I think he's against that D. He's getting 80 yards. I also think Chambliss, and this is alternate passing yards, they have him for a little more than this, but I got him for 250. Unless the game gets completely out of hand, I don't see that number being hit. It's under his actual total, but I'm taking 250. I also think Harrison Wallace the third, or what do they call him? Trey Harry, or I don't know. I'm like, guys,
Trey Wallace the third.
That's just okay, whatever. So let's just say, but I like him for 60 plus yards. Again, that's an alternative receiving yards, 60 plus yards. I think he gets that. Deshaun Stribling. So that's the other guy, right? So I also have him for 60, because that's what they do. If those guys aren't getting it, this game is over. So I'm seeing, again, the ability of Ole Miss. I think they do move the ball. And then Lacey gets his touches. 60 yards to me, I think, is reasonable. If it wasn't that Miami D, I'd be taking a lot more yards than that. But I think, because of their ability to put pressure, although I think, to be honest, I think Miami's going to find that this offensive line for Ole Miss is a lot better than the one that they saw with Ohio State. So I do think there's going to be a difference there. And I'm taking Ole Miss, and I'm slapping on another point. I'm taking plus 4.5. So just in case it gets that weird football number, I'm going, okay, well, I want to cross that number. So that pays by the decimal. Sorry, folks, I went to summer school for high school. I can't do all the little fraction stuff. It hurts my head. Decimals, I know, 17.13. So 17 times your money.
Big money, baby, big money. I'm going to tell you this. I think Malachi Tony's going to get his numbers too. I think I like him tonight for Miami. I think he's going to get his numbers. tonight and Marion too, because I think those are their big weapons with Fletcher, Malachi Tony, and I think Malachi Tony can run the ball too. That's the other guy. I think they have a couple other running backs like Brown, but I think Tony, if you get him like a CMC for what the 49ers do.
Yeah,
he can be a factor in this game. But I can't wait for this game. It's gonna be a great game. The quarterfinals lived up to the hype. Obviously, Oregon and Texas Tech was a slugfest early, and it was like slow. But the Ducks figured out a way. And you talk about motivation. Let's bring it to the second semifinal game now. We're playing Friday night. The Ducks were in a similar position to Ohio State last year. They got smoked, shellacked. They came in here and were motivated to show everybody, hey, what happened last year, not going to happen this year. They won their first round game. They killed. They killed JMU. They killed them. Dante Moore didn't play great against Texas Tech, but Texas Tech defense is really good. The problem is they were off for so long that the offense just couldn't get going, and Oregon's D is a little bit better than people think. Now you get a rematch. It's always tough to beat a team twice in the same season. The problem is Indiana is just so much better than everybody else right now. And Kirk Cignetti's got this team so laser focused that I don't know if Oregon can stand up to what Indiana's bringing right now.
I think it's fair. Look, I'm a Duck fan. I had season tickets at Autzen Stadium, so I go back to 8th grade.
Yeah.
Cheering for these guys, but they're both in a very different place than when they played at Autzen Stadium. And Moore played, I felt, probably his worst game of the season. But the reason that happened, it's not that they came out and they just stunk. It's just that the pace, the play was all dictated by both sides of the ball. Indiana is the only team in the country, I believe, that had both 3,000 yards, over 3,000 yards of offense, and also on defense. Like they were able to do things that nobody really did. They're a really well balanced team with a coach that, he takes the national anthem seriously.
Yeah,
this is the guy who's coming. Christmas morning, he's don't open that present. No, I wasn't going to. All right, open it now. I just they love him. They'll go through a wall for this guy. But when it comes down to it, one of the things I think that will happen is they're saying currently right now that Jordan Davison is out. So the two-pronged attack out of that backfield with Davison and Whittington is not now it's one guy. And as much as I think Whittington can still have a decent day, you're still taking away a massive element of what you do. So the question is, in order to overcome something, which in a game like this, you don't want to start thinking about extra stuff that you don't have. And Oregon is starting before the game starts. This is how it's going to be. I believe that Mendoza is, full marks for getting the Heisman this year. Some of those the crazy comebacks were just, almost like it was made up. You wouldn't have believed it. And he will find ways to get out of the pocket, make awkward throws, because he'll do that. He'll also run with them. Like he's got this energy about him, which is really fun to watch. Now, do I think he's a Sunday guy? Well, they don't really play a Sunday style. So no. I can't say that, it's closer probably to a high school stud star, but that's what they said about Josh Allen. But not that I'm comparing these two, because they're really not the same kind of athlete at all. But he does make things happen. He can play that hero ball at this level. The thing for Oregon, they have to play almost the same quality of defense this game as they did last game, because I thought that was their best defensive performance of the year. They learned a lot when they got beat by Indiana. They went on and played a defensive style of game against Penn State where they got the win. They had to go to Iowa. They did the same thing where it's a grind out kind of, winning, whether it's a 16-10 or 20, like they started
Big
to play.
Ten football.
Yeah,
it's Big Ten football.
Yeah. It's just how we know Big Ten to be. But will it work against Indiana? That's why you'll notice, surprisingly, that Mike Richards has no result. he has no result in this game, because I know it'll be sad the whole game. Like, I think the upset would be Oregon winning.
Yes, 100%. I think so. I agree with that. If Oregon wins, it's a major upset, because I think Indiana right now is a clear hands-down favorite to win the national championship. If we took this to a hockey comparison, it's like the Colorado Avalanche Open. like it's them and everybody else right now. To me, Indiana is the best team in the country.
Yep.
And I wouldn't have said that 5 years ago. Remember, they up to 1 win, 2 wins. Like they were the laughing stock of college football.
Of course.
Kirk Cignetti, what he's done and turned that program around and brought in a culture of winning and understanding what it takes to win. Like he's motivated too because everybody's like, oh, well, who's Indiana beat? They can't beat anybody. Yet they win the Big Ten championship, shellacked Ohio State, shellacked Alabama, beat Oregon. They've answered every test. Now it's a big test to beat the same team twice. They have tape on you. But you talk about weaknesses, and this is my opinion on Dan Lanning. As much as I love him as a coach, I would play for him. I want to play for him. There are decisions in games where I question, and he's gotten better at this, though. He's not as aggressive as he used to be in big games.
Yeah.
He'll
but he still is. You're right. But he's still
he can
it's still in there.
It's still in there where you would think he would take a field goal, but he still goes for it. I think
or a fake punt. He'll fake a punt.
Fake a punt inside his own, and it's like you don't want to be doing this in this game. If points are on the table to take, you take the points against Indiana. You have to.
Yeah, I don't think you have any wiggle room against an Indiana. I would assume that he knows this, but again, it's on the sideline. Here comes a 4th and something. And I was like, okay, all right, just kick it away. But at the same time, everybody loves hero ball, right? It's like, oh no, he's going to throw it. He's throwing out of the punt formation, and I'm like, but it only when it works, right?
It's great.
When it works,
it
looks great. But I really do.
When it doesn't, especially a team like Indiana, like we've said, I said this going to the quarterfinal game against Alabama. If Alabama decided to show up as they did against Texas A&M in the first quarter, if that Alabama team showed up against Indiana, it was going to be a rout, and it was. If Oregon wants to play hero ball in the first quarter, Indiana will roll them out of the building.
Yes. Correct. I agree with that. So here's what I have against my beloved Ducks, and they have no running numbers, by the way, right now for Oregon. I guess it's up in the air about Davidson, but I think Davidson is not playing. I think Jordan Davidson is out, but even for Whittington, they don't have any numbers. So here's what I have painfully for this game. I've got Omar Cooper, and these are low numbers, folks, just so you know. This is alternative numbers, once again, from FanDuel, for 40 yards receiving. I've got and basically I looked at what they did to Oregon. Even though it's slightly different, I still want to see what they did against that team when they played them. So Surratt, who also is a solid player, I've got them both for 40 yards. I think out of the backfield because Oregon's still going to have to prove that they can stop the run like they did last week. But this is a much better team, so I think he gets his 50 yards. I don't think that's a stretch. And I really liked Jamari Johnson last week. I think he's really in the last month and a half of playing, and so let's say the last 5 games or so, he really showed up, had a huge game last week. For him to just get 25 yards, he better get 25 yards because without Davidson, they're going to have to maybe put it in the air a little bit more than they're used to. So just those 4 picks is a 709. That's right, 709er. So between those 2 picks for your college ball, it is 24 times your money.
Okay, that's good. Those are some solid picks. I think Mendoza gets his numbers. I think Indiana will get there. I think in the end, I think Indiana gets through against Oregon. I think they can beat them for a second time. But I think both of these games are going to live up to the hype, and I hope there's no blowouts in these games.
I will. How do I put it? I will be drinking for both of these games.
You always do.
Yeah, I mean, this just in.
This just in. Breaking news.
Yeah. I expect to have maybe it's champagne for the Ole Miss game because I do. I really have some great feelings about it. I don't know if I'm cracking champagne for my Ducks, but you know what? It's one of those things where, well, as long as I win my bets, then nobody cares. But if Indiana is the national championship, does anyone have a problem with this?
No.
Like I realize people are like, the committee's done a terrible job. The committee didn't do it right. At the end of the day, if you can find me someone who's going to be Indiana in the situation, then I'd be with you. Then I'd say, you know what, there's a problem here. But they almost got this thing right. I mean, if I'm looking at someone said who are the 4 best teams in the country, well, I probably would say it's going to be Indiana, but I would have put Ohio State in there. I would have put Oregon in there, and but this is where, the debate on the fourth team. But that's why, just to have, when they had it with the semis and then you had the, I do like the added teams. But I think, and there's been some college coaches been very vocal about this, they're aware of the fragile nature of what's happening outside of the playoffs. And that's why right now, currently for me, the bowl games are obsolete. And that's a killer because it was my favorite thing. I just loved it. And whether it was North Texas, hey, I'm all in. I'm watching schools. They can be, San Diego State or whoever's in there. But then, programs that have, sizable football programs from big divisions, and none of the players, they're all in the portal. They're all in the Star Trek magical portal. The coaches have left, and then you have all those. And again, it's hard to pick on these guys when they go declare themselves for the NFL draft. I mean, who are we to tell someone that they can't go for the goal to be drafted in the NFL? That one I back up from. That one I got to shut up a little bit about. But the whole use of the portal, I think the use of when coaches have to jump, if they're not careful at some point, as I said, they believe Kellogg's or
Chef Boyardee or somebody like that.
Whatever. As they said, milfhunter.com or whatever bowl's coming on. The Cougar Bus, is that a thing? I don't know. Could be. It's good. It's a great idea. I'm giving this out for free. I have so many great ideas. But at some point, someone's going to go, I'm not. Like, no one goes to the game because no one's traveling from whatever school to go down to the Bahamas or whatever it is, or go to, North Carolina in January or December. And then to have these, they may get it for 1 year or 2 years, but at some point, it's just not going to be worth the money because guys like you and me who love it aren't watching. And if we're not watching, nobody's watching.
I mean, I watched one college football bowl game this year and involved the Army, and I wanted to watch them win because I like Jeff Monken, the coach there. But other than that, I could care less about the bowl games this year because no one's playing in it because they don't represent the teams that I saw for the first 12 weeks, that I scouted for the first 13 weeks of the season. That's not even close to the same team that played the first 13 weeks of the season. So I'm 100% with you, Mike, on that. And look, hopefully the game's in a better state. I'll say this is my bold prediction before we get out of here. I do believe that we'll go to 16 teams and the first two rounds will be played on college campuses. And then the semifinals and final will be neutral site games. But I do think there will be a day where the first two rounds are going to be on college football campuses like the regular season games are.
It's the NFL.
Yeah.
The model's in the NFL. And for the lack of a better term, the portal has become their version of free agency. And, the fact that calling someone a student athlete is real push because when you go to 4 schools in 4 years – because, you didn't like the program, didn't like the coach, didn't like whatever. I'm pretty sure because you wanted a better grade in biology. so you went from East Carolina to Temple. Yeah, I don't think that's a thing. And I don't think they're worried about it. And now you've got a situation where I don't know what the number was this year, but I know there's some in the last couple of years that the guy being under center, taking the snaps, that one season, and it might have been bigger this year, it was like 50 to 60% of the guys hadn't taken the snap from that team beforehand. They were all taking new snaps. 60% of college programs had a new guy. And at some point, it's not the NFL. It's no matter how badly they want it to be that way. But I fear for the health of college football itself because we should have geographical rivalries. Like there was a time when it was the Pac-12 where, when UW had to play, Washington State, or you had, Oregon State, you had
Civil War game, man. That was the best. War,
UCLA, USC, all these schools. And I'm pretending now that the Ducks are part of the Big Ten. Well, I know they are, but
that's a Pac-12. That's a Pac-12 school, man. Like it's always been a Pac-12 school.
Right. And so what happens to programs like Stanford? I mean, Stanford, you still have to have grades. It's still a school that has an academic standard. But my brother went to a game, actually, it was last fall, and I said, so you're going to the Stanford game? Because he could have gone to I forgot what the other Cal State or I can't remember what the game was actually going to be. So he goes to Stanford. He goes, it was weird. I go, why? And no one was there. Like that's Stanford. That's a big program. And at some point, I also believe when you start seeing this stuff, if it continues, the alumni is not going to.
No.
The alumni, you expect alumni to keep sinking money into a program that doesn't go out? They get no 5-star recruits. They're never in the playoffs, and a lot of these, they're not in bowl games either.
No.
So how long do you think it takes before someone goes? And Stanford, they're a school of smarty pants, so they need the Bunsen burners. They need microscopes. I mean, and that's where in our world, that's where our doctors and our scientists come from, and the money comes from football. People say, well, the basketball program's as big as they can be. It's nothing compared to a football program. It's not compared.
College football is the biggest thing going besides the NFL. And if somebody wants to debate me on that, go ahead. But it's college. Close. It's not even close. It's the NFL and it's college football, and it's not even close. And they bring in the most dollars, and that's why this college football playoffs kind of ruined everything else, but it's been really good football. I can't wait for these semifinal games, Mike. I like your picks, man. I do.
See, hopefully
we get some money. Hopefully we get some money out of it this time.
Yeah, that's what we need. That's what we need.
We need the greenbacks. But guys, this has been College Football Podcast around campus. Mike Richards from Sportsnet 960, The Fan out in Calgary. I'll be joining his show this weekend.
This
Sunday. You hear me now. You'll see us now. But you could tune in again on Sunday because we'll be back together. We're talking NFL, some hockey. We'll go around sports world because, we
Olympic hockey coming up. Hey, buddy, we're going to be talking. Yeah.
We're going to be lots of talking. But I appreciate you coming on Around Campus College Football Podcast to talk some national semifinals today, Mr. Richards.
Anytime, brother. Anytime.
Guys, take care. Again, Around Campus College Football Podcast up here on Specialty Media. Please subscribe, like, and watch, and comment. We'll be back again for the national championship preview. Take care.